Oh, yeah.
Indeed.
Welcome. Welcome. How you doing,
Welcome.
Kevin?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm digging the hair.
Yeah, no, it's been beautiful. It's my COVID hair. I had long hair in high school when I was a freshman, and I always wanted to grow it back out. And man, once it gets to like halfway down your cheeks, it's super awkward and hard to get like a
Hmm.
good look. And
Yeah.
so with COVID, not being able to go to barbershops or anything, I was like, all right, this is my time. Let's go ahead and just get this done. So yeah, no, I like to think it's beyond the awkward stage, but I'll leave that to the viewers to decide. But I like it. It's
Awesome.
beautiful.
Very cool. Well, speaking of viewers, jumping straight into it. So, what are we doing here? Uh, so, for anyone that may not know me intimately, and wow, I should use a different word there. Uh, for anyone that may not know me well, um, I've recently left a role of the past 11-ish years where I spoke to customers nonstop, like 7, 8 hours a day, always talking about security news, always talking about threats, metrics, crazy stuff. And since leaving that job in January, I find myself missing the sound of my own voice. And so, kind of wanted to get back out in front of a camera, start talking. And, I didn't want to talk about a hot take of the news. I didn't want to, give my opinion, even though I'm right, clearly.
Usually.
I didn't, I didn't want to, throw my hot take out there. So I had this thought of, let me go after the CIS critical controls. Let me go after something that I can put in front of customers, put in front of people that I know that run organizations that maybe need a little bit of help and guidance, things that I used to do in a previous life. And so, I reached out to Kevin, who's a good friend of mine, and basically said, hey, Kevin, I want to do a presentation on the CIS critical controls. It used to be the SANS critical controls, just a good framework for controls that should be present in your environment. And Kevin, I believe your exact words were, I would love for a front row seat to watch you make a fool of yourself. So
Those
thank
were
you.
my words exactly. I'm gonna get them tattooed on my neck, actually. So
No regrets.
indeed. Well, yeah. So Mike asked me to chat with him about these things, and I think that's tremendous. I've been in technology, I guess, for like 20 years now, which is pretty wild. Starting to get old. I got gray hair that's hiding somewhere in this bundle, so who knows. Right now, I lead a development and data science team for a large financial company. By the time that anyone sees this, I may be somewhere else. It's a little spicy, but it is what it is. I love software, I love infosec, and I love networking. So when Mike asked me to come on, I thought it'd be a kind of a cool yin and yang, because I'm real like in the trenches. I do a ton of development. I have a bunch of stuff on my GitHub. Um, and so like as we talk about these controls, Mike, I want to get his views strategically, and for me it's much more of a tactical experience of, do I buy, do I build? Because occasionally the right thing is to do is to buy, right? Usually to build, but sometimes to buy. And yeah, just go through it. I'm really fortunate to be a SANS instructor, and so I really love meeting people out in the world and thinking about their problems and giving them advice as we go through the class that I teach, which is Sec 504. So thanks for having me on, and I hope I can provide some interesting context and talk about keyboards a whole bunch, and talk about Python and maybe even packets every now and then. So thanks, man.
Uh, you are a terrifying person when it comes to the packet skeleton. And for anyone that ever has to do an interview with Kevin, you're going to want to know that RFC inside and out.
Yeah, for me, I think if someone puts that they're an expert on something on their resume, especially in an area that I don't consider myself an expert in, but I consider myself real strong, that can be an uncomfortable experience. And so, yeah, if you ever do interview with me and say that you're a TCP/IP expert, I expect people to know every single field in the IPv4 at least, and TCP headers. And bonus, if you have UDP, it's only 4 fields, so it should be not too hard.
This is true. And so to kind of frame that background, so my background is I've been working in InfoSec since 1999. I worked as a network and security architect for a very long time. But then about 5-ish years ago, I got tasked with starting up an MSSP. So I have been building an MSSP for the past 5 years and have recently left that role. So I have a heavy focus on architecture, framework. I've done a lot of compliance stuff. I was a QSA way back in the day. But I'm also heavy into operationalization now and understanding how things work in client environments. And so, one thing that's going to come out as we start going through these videos, you're going to see that, Kevin and I have maybe not disagreements, but like where I say something and he tells me I'm wrong, but I'm actually right.
There'll be interesting discussions, because I think that just like with anything, being a manager, I appreciate that there's multiple sides to an issue that need to be considered. The person who knows how to write the code, in my opinion, is usually correct and understands the business requirements relatively well, but we'll see. I'm happy to have some debates about it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And one thing that I want to start off with is, for anyone that's not familiar with the CIS critical controls, they used to be I would say a product almost, or an architecture from SANS, with what I would consider would be basic security controls that you should have for your environment. I don't think that there's anything in SANS critical controls, CIS critical controls, that is unimportant or shouldn't be in your environment. Maybe some components at different maturity levels in your organization, but everything's important. And we're going to go through each one, video by video. But as part of that, especially for this video series, I really wanted to target, maybe the SMB market. So companies that maybe have a small security team, right? You don't have 60 security people, 60, engineers and analysts and incident responders, sitting on your team. You maybe have one or two, or maybe you don't have any. Maybe security is just a feature of the, the IT role at your company. And so what we want to do is actually give you actionable items to address some of these, controls, I guess.
Yeah. And where I come from is a little bit on the other side, where I want to inspire all the little Trevor Tyers out in the world who are great security professionals, but like get inspired on things you can code, things you can build, ways that you as an individual contributor can come in and impact the health of your security organization. So we're going to try to hit it from both ends. Something I've always been really dissatisfied with about management books, especially in like technical leadership, is it always assumes that you're like a C level. And being like a frontline manager, I'm like, well, this is useless. I can't fire anybody. I don't really have much say in when it comes to raises and bonuses, right? Like,
yeah,
I have a lot of say over hiring, which is definitely in there. But for me, to sort of contrast again, Mike's strategic vision is like, hey, here's a script that I might write, and I'll probably release some code as I type stuff up as we go through this series. So yeah. Very and cool. One day I'll learn how to talk properly, and that'll be cool.
Words are hard.
They are. They're very difficult.
Yeah. And another thing that I wanted to throw out is that because we will be talking about products or companies, not specifically clients with regards to stories, we are not sponsored. So anything that we talk about is something that we have worked with, have personal experience, feel comfortable that it fits a control, or it's a good company or a good product or has great features. So not sponsored whatsoever. And we'll hope it's helpful and exciting.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I'm willing to sell out. So just hit me up, give me some of that scratch. I like money.
100%.
But yes, to Mike's point, actually, I like being the guy who, when vendors find out that I'm on the phone, they're like, okay, he's going to ask about GraphQL again, So yeah, just like Mike said, we're not sponsored by anybody. Obviously, it's hard to be completely like unentangled from previous things that we've done, but yeah, I mean, you can look at our LinkedIn and see everywhere we've been. But also, to Mike's point, we're probably going to change the names to protect the innocent and sometimes guilty in the stories and things that we talk about.
Yes, and for anyone that doesn't know me, I like to interact and impart knowledge through the use of stories. Yeah. And I will be giving you stories on basically every single control, because over the past 22 years, I've been able to see why all of these controls are important to your organization. And realistically, I feel like people learn the best when it's a story, right? Like that's how we pass knowledge down through the ages. You hear about funny things, interesting things, parables, life lessons, things like that. And so we're going to try and do that. And hopefully we'll be able to make you laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, story and analogy is like what I rely on as an instructor and as a manager. So yeah, hope you have some things you can take back to your organization or inspire you from what we chat about, and it should be cool.
Right on. All right. Well, with that, I think we can shut down this video and get ready for the next one in the series.
All right, see you soon. Hit me up at War on Shrugs on Twitter, Degonis on GitHub. If you're in the DC 480 Slack, if you live in Arizona, I'm Julius Moonfish. So hit me up, and if they want to bother you, Mike, like what's your deets?
You know what? Hit me up on LinkedIn for right now because things are rapidly changing.
Fair enough. Don't hit me up on LinkedIn. I won't see your message. But all those other places, go ahead.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Kevin, and we'll talk soon.
Cool. Thanks, man. Bye.
Later.